Hiya! There you go. So when you get to the home page, you're going to find yourself on your profile page. For people who don't have a project at all, you will simply find this little tab there that allows you to create a first project. You're just going to click on it. You're going to land on a blank page, and you're in 2D mode right at the bottom. At the very top, you've got a map. You've got the option to add walls. So you're going to click on it, and you're going to land on a page with a little pen as you're looking at the very top left. You have the option of changing the thickness of your walls. It's very important because it's going to have an impact on the dimensions of the walls that you're going to draw. Generally, when we go to trace the walls of a structure of an overall house, so really the walls of the structure of the house, the thickness of the walls is always much greater than the interior walls. If you really have a complete house to build, first change the thickness of the walls according to the thickness you have in reality. Here, I'm going to indicate 30 centimeters really randomly, which will allow you to trace all of your walls here at 30 centimeters. So here, for example, I changed 30 centimeters, and to start tracing your walls, you're just going to start with a starting point and stretch your walls. Look at this. The gray line is so you're going to be able to stretch it to mark a break point. So to fix the wall well, you click OK or Enter with your mouse. And then, to make the perpendicular wall, in the same way, you stretch your pen to the right, you mark a stop point, and you pull them up and to the left to create a piece. You don't hesitate to validate. It's very important to close this room because I'm standing next to it. If you draw a first wall, then a second wall, and you validate your piece wasn't created, I'm going to switch to 3D to show you. Here you have the 3D view. You do have two walls that have been drawn, but you have not. What has been created when here I have reached my own 4 walls? A play was written with a floor. It's very simple to know if the part has been created, since Magnus will very quickly tell you that your part has been created here by indicating part number 1. I'm going to delete this. Let's imagine that we have created the overall structure of our project. So that's what I advise you to do when you have a plan, a complete house to make. First, create the skeleton, so the foundations, the overall structure of your house, and then you will create the interior rooms. If you only have one room to create, you go to your client's house, or like earlier, there's a person who told me that she was renovating the room of one of her sons. Of course, if you only have one bedroom to do, don't make the complete house or the complete apartment. You just pick up your pen from a wall. Plasterboard walls generally are 7 or 10 cm away. You trace the walls of the bedroom directly to 10 cm only. It's simple. Once you've drawn the walls of the overall structure, you're going to be able to click on each wall. So over here, if I click on the wall that's to the north, you're going to have 2 dimensions that show up. You have an inner dimension and an outer dimension. Very important to differentiate between the two, namely that when you are going to arrange your project, you will generally arrange the interior of your space, the interior of your house, and the interior of your apartment. So always change the inner dimension. It's the same. When you go to your client's home, you usually take the interior dimensions, so be careful to indicate the interior dimensions of each room. Here, let's imagine the overall structure, so it's the complete wall. The length of this wall is 9 meters. The dimensions are in centimeters, so if the wall is 9 meters, you're going to indicate 900. You see that here they take the segment from the left wall to the right wall, so it is this dimension that you must indicate. Here, we're going to indicate 900 to have 9 meters on this wall. And automatically, you saw that when I indicated 9 meters, my wall extended. He's going to go back. Tack, I apply 9 meters. I was told if we want to apply our dimension to the left or to the right, it will allow us to know if we want to extend our wall to the left or to the right, quite simply. But it's very important to indicate it. What for? Because since we're going to extend our wall to the right, it's this wall that's on the right that's going to push itself to the right. We have a wall that has been fixed here. Hop, I'll do the manipulation for you. If we extend the wall, I'll do the manipulation right after, so it's going to be much simpler. Here we have 9 meters, so it's great. We will be able to change the size of this wall there too. Here we have 466 centimeters, so 4 meters 66. And let's imagine that this wall in reality is 7 meters. We'll simply click on the dimension that indicated apply 700 and apply the dimension either above or below. What I was telling you is like earlier, we applied the dimension to the left or applied the dimension to the right. Here we have above, or below, which would actually mean we're going to apply the 7 meters by stretching the wall below or stretching the wall above. If I stretch it underneath, my wall gets bigger. If I had applied it above, the wall has grown upwards. But it's very important because it's the foundation wall. This wall, we have fixed it. It is positioned. We cannot move it as in reality. You can't push the walls. So it's very important to know where you're going to apply the dimension to stretch the wall. And it's going to be even more important when you're going to do the interior pieces. So there, quite simply, I'm going to tell you as well right after. After applying your dimensions of 9 meters and 7 meters, you see if the dimensions have been applied correctly. We're okay. We're going to create the interior pieces. So you take a wall, you change the thickness of your wall. If all the interior walls are 7 centimeters away, and we will create all the interior rooms. And that's where it's going to be very important. The fact of applying to the left or to the right, above or below. Let's imagine here that I have a room in this corner. So you're just going to trace your piece very roughly. You start from the main wall, you pull them down, and you pull them to the left. The right, you validate. Except that we didn't apply any dimensions, and that's where we're going to have to add the specific dimensions of this part number 2 to apply the dimensions. Here, I'm clicking on this wall there. It is clear that the segment was taken only from room number 2. This wall is 4 meters long. I'm going to have to apply the 4 meters here and there. We are asked if we are going to apply these dimensions to the left or to the right. If I apply this dimension to the right, it is the wall on the right that will extend. And this is not possible given that we have indicated the overall dimensions of our house at 9 meters and at 7 meters if I apply it to the right. These are our walls, but my wall is already fixed. This is the wall of my foundation. This is the wall of my house structure, so it's not possible to push the wall. This would mean that the 4 meters must be applied to the left and the left wall extends. This would mean that the dimensions of the house have not changed at all. We're still 9 meters 60 away and will be 9 meters inside. If we add up the 493s, the 7 centimeters of the wall thickness, and the 4 interior meters, now, we're going to take care of the wall that's perpendicular to the wall of the structure. Here, 3, 19, 5. We imagine that a piece is also 4 put in depth here. Do I apply 1, 2, 1 above or below? I apply underneath. What for? Because if I apply above, it's the wall here that will extend, which is not possible. So I apply underneath. And here I have my piece, which is 4 by 4 meters. And I have my dimensions, which remain identical. You can make as many pieces as you want in your project. Either you click on the already existing walls, and you can extend your walls with the small squares you have at each end without worry. Either you take a wall, change the thickness if necessary, and add rooms wherever you want. Don't forget to validate. You can really resize every room. Let's imagine that room number 3 is not 4 meters wide, but rather 2 3s, but I'm applying 3 meters. And I'm applying to the left since I really want it to be the wall on the left that is resized. Once you have placed all your pieces, the next step will be to change the ceiling height. How do I change the ceiling height? You're just going to click on the room you're in. And if you have the possibility to change the ceiling height, note that when you change the ceiling height here, it changes the entire ceiling height of your floor. You can switch to 3D to see how it looks without worry. You can see that all the walls have been positioned on a granny. You can only build walls while in 2D, so feel free to switch between 2D and 3D to check that everything is okay. If you ever made a mistake, you made a mistake about the thickness of the node, and given that, let's imagine that this wall is 10 cm thick. You click on this wall. You then click on Edit. And right here, you have the option to change the thickness of your wall as you wish, which is that if you change the thickness after resizing each room, it's going to impact the size of the rooms. So be careful and rather do it upstream. Once you have the entire structure of your complex home, apply the right dimensions to each wall and add all the rooms with the right dimensions, and then change the ceiling height. You will be able to add all the carpentry, doors, and windows. To add the doors and windows, you're going to go to the Build tab. Here, you are allowed to have tabs and sub-tabs per type of product. The first possibility is to add the entrance doors. So you have generic articles. These are the items that you can change in dimension and in material or color. And you have branded items. Well, here we have a front door. We don't really need it to be a brand door. You can filter a generic or Magnus offers you several types of doors that you can add to your project without worry. We're going to add a first door, hop, and we're going to place it here. You have a magnetism system. The door is really drawn to the walls. The doors are only positioned on the walls. You position it on a wall, and you can see that the door is drawn in a quarter circle. When you click on the door and then on Edit, you have several possibilities. You have the option of first changing the dimensions of your door. So let's imagine that your door is 90 centimeters. You can change the dimension and automatically, or it changes the dimension on the door that is on your wall. You can also change the ceiling height. You can also change the height from the ground, but also the direction and side of the opening. When I show you, your door here opens on this side, but it can open that way too, but it can open the other way, and the same way for the side. Once you have changed these parameters, you will have to apply the right size so that your door is perfectly positioned in relation to the wall. Always, when you click on your door, you have all the surrounding dimensions that are indicated on your project. So you have the first dimension of the door, then the dimension to the north, and the dimension to the south. Let's imagine that your door is located 10 centimeters from this wall. You just click on this dimension and apply 10 centimeters. By clicking Enter, your door is automatically placed 10 centimeters from your wall. And if you zoom in, you see that it's perfectly placed. If I switch to 3D, you can check that your door is in the right place. You'll then add everything that is interior doors. So over here, in the same way, you can filter by generic. You have all types of doors. You add them the same in your project, always placing the doors on your walls, changing the dimensions, changing the height from the floor, the direction of opening, etc. Just the way you want it. And there, as I was telling you, as these are generic items, you will be able to change everything that is material, color, hardware. Here, when you click on Edit, you have the option to change all the materials. So now, let's imagine that I want to have black hinges and wooden door leaves. You can change everything with a few clicks, and you have plenty of sub-tabs to modify the materials according to your preferences. And that's really great. And there you have it. Once you've placed your first door, usually all the doors in your projects are going to be identical. You click on Duplicate My Door. The door duplicates itself, and you switch it to another human. You are careful to change the dimensions if necessary, and change the direction of opening your door. Once the joinery is placed, you will of course position everything that is windows. So that's part of the joinery. We're not going to plate them. Anyway, yes, I'll put one on you. Still in the build category. Presto, windows are here. You have double sliding windows, doors, windows, etc. Always sliding doors or hinge doors you can filter. And you have a lot of different models. It's up to you to choose the template you want, add it to your project, and place it wherever you want. In the same way, you can change the dimensions, change the opening direction, and the side and style. Once this has changed, or you do exactly like the doors, reposition yourself perfectly in relation to your wall by clicking on the dimension and applying the dimension of your choice. Once this is done in terms of the joinery, you will have to place the plants. And that's very important because it perfectly finalizes your project to place the plants. Nothing could be simpler. You click on the room you're in, so on the floor, you then click on Edit. And here you go to the very bottom in the technical details, and automatically you'll be able to add plants. When I zoom in, you see that automatically my plants have been added. If you click on the photo of the plants again, you will be able to change the style of the plants. You have plants with LEDs, bigger, thicker, taller plants. It doesn't matter. You choose the style you want. You can also change the depth of the plants, the height, but also the style. Let's say you want your plant to be in the color of your soil. You can change the style of your complaint if you want your complaint to be the color of your wall. And that's what I advise you to do because it's much prettier. You put the complaint of the color of your wall without worry, and it does it for you for all the rooms of your project. Hop, in a few clicks, you have complaints. Once this is done, I advise you to place the radiators unless you have underfloor heating, and then you can start fitting out your project without worry. These are very important steps for your project. I really advise you to do all the steps I have listed here in order. Because if you make a mistake in the dimensions and you have to adjust all the dimensions that you modify, all the dimensions while your project is already set up, it's a real hassle. So very important, we're going to start answering your questions. The first question was the import of furniture to import furniture. You have several possibilities. You have the community content category. So first of all, you should know that HomeByMe offers you branded or generic furniture in the furnished category, even decorated. When you go to the furnished category, you have several tabs per room each time, and when you click, you will have several different items that correspond to the tab you are in. You are here. If you are looking for a sofa, you will filter a sofa, and you will simply find boho chic brand sofas. It's the house of the world. You have plenty of them. You have French and American brands, designer brands, and you even have generic items, which really allows you to integrate the furniture of your choice. These are only the items that are offered to you in the project. You have a lot of them. Now imagine that the items you propose do not correspond to you, which I find really weird because you really have a lot of choices, but you never know. Let's say you want other furniture. You have the community content category, which allows you to have additional items that are not available in the library or put in the community content category. These are all the articles that users have imported, so have uploaded here. It doesn't matter if you're on a free or paid subscription, you have the option to access community content without worry. You can add all objects that are on the community content. So there, for example, I saw an armchair. I can add it. There's no problem. The only thing is that you may not have the brand of this item and that you do not have the reference. It's possible, but usually you do a little search on Google, a search by image, and you can easily find where this article comes from. So you can use all the articles that are in the community content and yourself. You can even do a search. For example, if I'm looking for an armchair, I search for an armchair in the search bar, and you find lots of different and great things. So, that's great. Now you need to add textures, and that's where you have a new tool that's really great. Want to add textures? So wallpaper, yes, wallpaper in wall coverings, whatever you want. You're going to go to the company library and the search bar. At the very top, you're going to do a freeform search. I'm looking for formulas because I don't have the name in mind yet perfectly. When you get to the freeforms, you're going to use this tool there. The custom image on a parametric plan, not to be confused with the customizable frame, which is right here. The custom image on the parametric plane allows you to import the texture of your choice and the image of your choice. It's more for the coatings. When you click on this, so on Edit, you're going to be able to change all the dimensions, but you're also going to be able to change the tilt. Do you want to use this article horizontally or vertically? It's up to you. Right here, when you go down, you're going to click on Styles, and you're going to have several options, either to add images that you offer or to import your own images. I've already imported a lot of images, especially wall coverings. Let's say I want a coating. So this is a coating. On the other hand, without a coating, let's imagine that I want a coating, that I put this coating on this wall. I change the width, I change the height, I have a wall coating. So it's actually an image. But with a wall covering, I automatically apply it to my wall to apply it to my wall. I advise you to click on the element. Then click on the custom. This tool is great. It allows you to position the objects perfectly without them flying, without them necessarily touching the wall, or without them being badly positioned. You have all the surrounding dimensions of the object that you clicked on that appear here. I want my image to be on the wall. I'm going to click on this dimension there and apply 0. And now, my siding is on my wall. So you're not going to have this relief effect, but since it's a coating image, we have this effect there when we create the realistic visual, we room the personalized image on a parametric plane. It's really for all textures and wall coverings for the frames. So the customizable table is exactly the same thing. You see, it's exactly the same thing. And when you click on image, you're also going to be able to bring in your images, but it's more for everything that is framed. It's much better. Before, we used to use this for coatings as well, but I advise you to really keep it for frames and images. So you can really bring the image of your choice. If you have a personal image, or if you have an image or a poster that you find in a brand, you can very well import it. And of course, you can change all the dimensions if you want your frame to be much larger, and there's no problem. Another question, 3D plan. And well, 3D plan. You see, we went from the 2D plan, so we drew our walls to the 3D plan. And we can, of course, make visuals. So here, when we click on the camera, we're going to have the option to take screenshots. So now I'm in 3D. If I want to take a screenshot in 3D, there's no problem. HomeByMe also choose up the work and allows you to choose the type of 3D plan you want to have. Another possibility is the new feature that has just been released, but is only available for subscriptions. One imitated more. It's the 2D plan. The 2D plan, which means that you have the possibility to see it also on the free subscription. I'll show you right after, but here you have more additional information, including the cartouche that's at the very top right. You will have all the information about your project, the room in which you are located. So the general information, the name of the project, the name of the floor, the ceiling height, the plan unit, etc., and all the rooms of your project and the floor in which you are located with the areas at the bottom left. You will have the possibility to display or not the furniture, display or not the coatings displayed, the name of the rooms. That is, you can, of course, change the name of the rooms, display the surface area or not. In fact, you simply have the different sliders that you can turn on or off. Annotations are all the information that you will add to your project, and you have the parts you want or not. Displaying the dimensions of windows is revolutionary because it's brand new. We now have the possibility to add the size of the windows. That's great. I don't know how to draw on my project, but otherwise this would be displayed. And you also have the option to display or not the caption. The legend is simply a cartridge that is just above. You then have the option to change the size of the dimensions a little bit right here. Took, where are the dimensions? I removed them, and I can't find them anymore. They are obviously the color of the walls. If you want it to stay gray, or if you want black, the orientation of your shot and the scale of your shot, that's just too good. Once you've selected the information you want to apply, you'll launch the image. In a few seconds, it is on your profile. What I advise you to do is to take a screenshot by information so that your screenshot is not too busy and your screenshot is readable. So, that's great. What I was also telling you is that even with the free version, you also have the option to have this type of screenshot here when you come back. So, you see, earlier we had clicked on screenshot, but we were in 3D. There I positioned myself in 2D, and I back up again on screenshot. You have exactly the same information. So display the furniture, not display the furniture, the upholstery or not. Do I want the walls to be gray or black? I'm going to indicate the dimensions. I want the size to be large or small. Display the name of the rooms, the area, and you can start the screenshot. The only thing you're not going to have is the scale and the cartouche that you have right above it. But honestly, it's still really not bad for free subscriptions. You also have aerial views. It's a bit like the improved version of the 3D plan that I showed you just before. So there, in terms of the aerial view, you can switch to either 2D or 3D, or allows you to achieve 4K views. So, that's great. Same, the goal is for your project to be really well laid out, but unlike the screenshot, it's simply that. So it's really great. Same, once you have found the 3D plan that suits you, you launch, and in a few clicks, it arrives on your profile page. Another question was how to add plasterboard on top of kitchen furniture, for example. So we will first add kitchen furniture. So similarly, you have a kitchen category. You have the possibility to choose the kitchen furniture of your choice. I use the same kitchen furniture all the time, so they're either generic or either. Well, does it really allow me to customize them as I want? So I add my kitchen furniture. There you go. And here we have 420/12.9. I duplicate. You see the generic items. You can change the dimensions. So that's great. I duplicate, I change the dimension, and I readjust. I'm going to place high furniture. So the same, high furniture, always my generic items. I choose the furniture of my choice, and I place the furniture. You see the tool I have for you and that I told you about earlier, which allowed you to have all the surrounding dimensions of your project here. It's going to be great. What for? Because I place my furniture on my wall. I'm going to activate multi-measurements, and automatically I'm going to be given the dimension that I have in relation to my artboard. Generally, we have a 60 centimeter splashback. Generally also, even if it is less than 60 centimeters, the wall unit is always placed more than 60 centimeters from the worktop. Very important, so apply 60 centimeters directly here, which makes us have 4 cm just above. For example, we will change the height of this wall, of this piece of furniture. On the other hand, by 1, 2, 3, the height of this piece of furniture, for example, and we're going to set the height to 60, which means that we're always 60 centimeters from the worktop. But here we have 24 centimeters from the ceiling, which means that I need a 24 centimeters formwork. So first of all, I'm going to duplicate my furniture here. I'm changing the last piece of furniture to 92.9. I reactivate my measuring tool to place my furniture perfectly glued to the furniture on its left. And here, I need a formwork just above 24 centimeters. We check, but it's 24 centimeters. To create this formwork, I advise you to use shapes, freeforms. It's really a must-have that you're going to use all the time, all the time, all the time on all your projects. Because it's going to allow you to customize your projects, create objects, modify structures. Really, you can do anything. So there, what I did. I was a little bit too fast. I typed free format in my search bar, and you have a lot of different free shapes, drawing squares, hexagons, swinging squares, you name it. I used the cube. My cube is here. The idea is to modify the dimensions of my cube so that it fits perfectly here in height. We know that I need to have a 24 centimeters formwork. So by clicking on my club, by clicking on edit, I'm going to change the height first. I need my formwork to be the same depth as my furniture. So first, I'm going to click on my furniture to find out the depth. Here I know that the depth of my same is at 30. So I'm going to change the depth of my cube at 30 centimeters, and I need to have a formwork along the entire length. So what I'm going to do, given that it's all the length here, I'm going to get into 2D, and I'm going to click on my wall to have the perfect length as best I can. Here from 93.9, I switch to 3D. I click on my cube again. It's 293.9s, right? And I'm changing the width from 93.9. Once that's done, I'll have to position my cube just above. First thing to do on zoom, you're going to zoom in all the time. The more you zoom in, the more you'll be able to position your objects perfectly in your projects. First thing, you zoom in. You then click on your cube, and you have an arrow right above your cube that allows you to adjust the height. You adjust the height to the maximum. You're going to have this magnetism system that lets you know that you're perfectly located on the ceiling. Once your cube has touched the ceiling, you switch back to 2D, click on your cube, and position yourself. And I advise you once again to zoom in. What for? Because you're never sure of the perfect placement of your object, so you like tack and position yourself. Once it's positioned, you switch to 3D and the formwork is done. And last question was the cleats. How to position the cleats in your project. You go to the library, you do a search for 2 cleats, and the wood up cleats are the wood brand. But now you can really find dealers everywhere. Now, it's because it's been a while since we often banned them. But honestly, the colors you have on Miss are available in any other brand, or you choose the color of your choice. You add the cleat into your project, and in the same way, once you add the cleat into your project. So it's a 60 by 240 panel like in the shops. By the way, what is interesting is that for branded items, you have the possibility to go directly to the website, and of course we have changed the link. But it doesn't matter, or you go directly to the website, and there you can really do your little search for cleats. And there you find exactly the same article. To position the batten on your wall, you activate the measure tool again. We give you the dimension of 62.8 in relation to the wall. You apply 0 so that it is perfectly positioned on the wall. You will be able to change the dimensions. So 240, you can't go higher given that you have a plant just under 10 cm. I advise you to reduce the height of your cleat and raise it slightly. So we're at 225. And you also have the option of changing the orientation if you want your cleats to be horizontal or vertical. You can edit with just a few clicks. If you want to make a complete wall out of battens, you simply have to duplicate it several times once you have changed the dimensions. There you go. I answered all the questions. It's amazing. It's great. So that's all I wanted to show you. It's great for layout. It couldn't be simpler. So you go back to the library, you have all the different tabs, you can do a lot of searches, and that's it. It's great. If another question here was the supentes, if you want to make a supente, let's imagine that I have a loft on this wall. Here, on this wall there, we agree that the ceiling height is 235. I have a loft on this wall. I click on this wall. I then click on Edit, which is that the lofts, you can only add them on the outside walls of your project. It doesn't work on interior walls. Here you have a little slider that allows you to activate the supente. Once the slope has been activated, you have 2 dimensions, a height dimension and a depth dimension. The height is very important. The height. I'm switching to 2D to show you the height. It is with this height from the ground to the beginning of your loft. And the depth, it just had the depth of your support here. So when I switched to 2D or automatically, I activated my tool, my cursor of the supente. You've got a blue highlight here. You've got a little information tab that allows you to pick up exactly the information that I gave you just before our height. It's good from the ground to the bottom of the loft. And the depth, it's really the depth of the loft. The information you need to have is at what height is my loft. So here you can edit however you want. For example, you have a sloping floor that is 50 meters long. You apply a 50 meter. Once that's changed, you change the depth, and you're going to see that depending on the depth that you're going to apply, the blue highlight is going to change. And there, you have your supente. And that's it. It's all good for me. We will be able to take the time to exchange. If you have any questions, I will toggle back there to see your questions. So first of all, I hope that I have been able to answer all your questions. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to let me know if I was too fast or if you have any other questions. How do you create a top floor? How do I create a floor? So we're here on the ground floor to create a floor. It's very, very simple. You click on the room in which you are located, and here you have the possibility to add a floor or add a basement. If we want to add a higher floor, we add. Simply click on Add a Floor, meaning that the floors are completely independent but automatically duplicate the entire overall structure of your space. I switch to 3D. Here, we have a lower floor, so the ground floor, the floor in which we were located. I created a floor, so here we are on the first floor. We simply duplicated all the walls of my project. On the other hand, since the floors are independent, we can perfectly remove the walls without impacting the lower floor, and even add walls or stretch them without worry. Then, make a mezzanine bed yourself. Suppose that you have to use the parametric images on bed shapes to create all the blocks. No, you can use the shapes directly. So be careful. Parametric image is really for integrating images. If you want to create your bed on the mezzanine, use free forms, and that's where you will be able to modulate with the blocks as you wish. Or you can also create the structure with a wall. But the null wall will not be able to move afterwards. For example, change the dimensions. If you have a bed of 120 by 200, and then add, for example, openings, niches, etc. It can be an element. I'm going to show you the openings. A little bit. It's a bit to make niches or openings, quite simply. There, you have an arch. I placed it on my wall, for example. These are elements that you can place only on walls. And here you can change the dimensions. For example, 180 by 100. Imagine. Oh no, I didn't change the height from the ground. I place 150. Pop, it can be the opening precisely to place, to access my lower bed, and to access the lower links. What I advise you to do is simply go and get a bed. This is the little tip that I give every time. Go and look for a bed, a 220 bed. Do we have generic beds of 120? We're going to take a bed at random, and it may not fit perfectly, but it's really to show you. With 120 depth. We will leave it at 200, and the idea is to put the bed inside the structure. If you see that it sticks out a little, you're cheating. But now, I have a kennel and I have my bed inside. I can adjust the dimensions to cheat and not see after the feet, etc. How to make a rounded wall. We have a tutorial, and I made a tutorial on it, but I'll try to answer it quickly to create a rounded wall. What I advise you to do is to take a free form in template. So the freeform cylinder, change the dimensions of the shape bed, for example, 200 by 200, and put the cylinder on the angle. Once the cylinder is on the corner, then we're going to change the color so that it's much more visible. And the idea will be to reduce the two walls. The wall on the left and the wall on the north, they will have to be reduced to half the cylinder. Once that's done, then, you're going to get a wall. You're going to put the wall at the same thickness as the existing walls, and you're going to zoom in as much as possible. The idea, it's okay, is to create little pieces of wall all along the cylinder template, hop, small pieces of wall. It's very important because it will allow you to create the rounding if you don't create small pieces of wall. And if your walls are larger than 5 cm, you'll see that it won't be a nice rounding. Here, I'm going to try to go fast to show you as quickly as possible. G up, so it won't be perfect, unfortunately. I'm going to try to do something clean anyway. G up, so do you validate? Very important to start from the starting point to the end point to close your form. You remove the cylinder and you have your rounded wall. Melissa gave us the tutorial on the rounded wall. There, I made a wall rounded outwards. You can very well make a rounded wall from the inside. You can also make an alcove, and all this is in the tutorial. How to create a completely fenced exterior with the same walls as the house. How to create an exterior. Hop, add an exterior. You have the option to create a private garden, terrace, or driveway. You can change the square meters. We add the exterior. If necessary, we stretch, And then we get the walls of the house. Simply, if you ever close and it creates a roof for you, you remove the roof. How to make photorealistic renderings? Yes. So it's a bit of the holy grail, and in addition, realistic photos. Here in camera, you click on realistic image. Automatically, you are positioned in photo studio mode. And here, the great thing is that HomeByMe offers you predefined cameras. You can flip, allowing you to have different viewing angles in relation to the room you're in. You will also be able to change the atmosphere. So it's the atmosphere. It allows you to integrate into an environment, but also to change the background images. You have multiple background images. Once you've tweaked all of that, you launch your realistic image. Well, honestly, there's not much to have in my play. I'm not launching the image, but I'm showing you realistic images of projects. If you wish without worry. Do you have any other questions? What are the differences with the paid plan? We'll watch. In fact, the paid formula, the different offers allow you to have different features than the starter plan. There, in the free formula, you can do only 5 projects with the premium and the unlimited subscription. And in addition, you have unlimited subscriptions, so it's top 100. You have magnanimity calls. You have unlimited projects, so it's great. You can duplicate them endlessly, do more, do a lot of projects. So for young people, for professionals, it's really good not to be limited. What's also great is that you have unlimited 4K images. I'm going to show you what it's an image of someone in unlimited because you're going to see that the quality just amazing what you don't actually have in our free because you have the aerial views. What I showed you just before 4K unlimited on the unlimited subscription. In addition, you have the option to remove the logo that you don't have on the free version. You still have, the little band logo that shows up at the bottom. For professionals, it's always good to have it removed. And you also have the possibility to have the projects not copyable and to have the possibility to privatize all the articles that you are going to upload to the community content. So it's really great for all the people who want to test the paid version. Stay with me for a little bit. I'm going to give you a promo code that will allow you to take the subscription of your choice with a nice discount. So that way, it's going to really allow you to test. Either you want to test over a month or over the full year better, but at least you'll have access to all the features. If you go on the subscription, one more. So I'm going to show you the realistic visuals on projects that I've done at, for example. For example, what projects I'm going to show you. And I'm going to show you this one with some help. No, not so, then. A better example I gave you. I'm going to show you an example with people with lights. It's going to be nicer with nicer. Less. One has a small bug, I have a bug. It's good. And there, you see indoors, without windows, you have beautiful visuals appears. It's not the best project I've shown you. I don't have enough images. That's too bad. Of all, brought a little bit. Or pack with tactics. You see, for example, there you have LEDs and you have natural light. Look at the quality of the image. Really, look at the image quality. It comes out of Miami. It hasn't been modified. There's no modification on the image. Oh, really? Or look at the detail. And it's great. Honestly, it's great. And there, it really allows you to upload your images, post them on your social networks, create a client portfolio, really do what you want. But here's the thing. It's really without changing the image quality. It's great, and it's only 4K visuals. Same thing. I can also show you outdoors what it can look like. Can it be interesting for a lot of people to see what it looks like outside? Gee up. Will I get visuals? Yes, I'm going to have all the visuals normally. See in day mode, night mode. It's exactly the same point of view, but with lights and no lights. And in day mode, do you see the grain of the image? Here, the images come out of themselves, so there are no changes that have been made. And you see, by adding lights, really the effect that it gives. It's just incredible. So you're going to have really perfect image quality when you're going to make your realistic visuals on clothes that you're going to see that it's top tracking. Okay, that. But here's the thing, to show you the visuals in 4K, honestly, you can do very, very nice things for professionals. I think it's really the best thing to do to have a subscription to one more unit. So, I wish you a very, very good day and see you soon.